From the land down under, with the rock at its centre, comes the little Aussie watchman. Until today, the Revelation 12 sign. If you are in the end times prophetic community, unless you have been hiding under a rock, you will know about the Revelation 12 sign. If not, let me briefly bring you up to date. On September the 23rd this year, 2017, there will be a sign in the heavens that mirrors the picture story seen by the disciple John in Revelation 12. Let's review the sign. We read in Revelation 12, a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. And being with child, she cries out in labour and pain to give birth. While we know this story relates to the story of Israel and the birth of Jesus, there is also a sign seen in the stars that reflects this reality. It is a sign that has never been seen in the sky from 4000 BC, will not be seen in the next 1,000 years, according to researchers who have used computer simulation to accurately predict the position of stars both now, in the future, and in the past. The woman in the sky can only be the constellation Virgo, the Virgin. On the 23rd of September, she rises in the sky clothed, or should I say covered by the sun. Because the sun is out, and therefore it is during the day, the stars will not be able to be seen, but they are still there. Some are predicting there will be an unusual eclipse, which will allow us to see the stars. Wishful thinking, I believe. A crescent moon follows Virgo as she crosses the sky at her feet, just as in Revelation 12 says the moon is under her feet. Also on this day, she has the 9-starred constellation Leo, the lion, on top of her head. This clearly is 3 short of the garland or wreath of 12 stars. To make up the difference, on the 23rd of September, yes, on this particular day and on this day only, and only this year, the 9-starred Leo is joined by the 3 planets Mars, Venus, and Mercury to make up the 12-starred wreath. If that is not enough, the planet Jupiter is also seen born between Virgo's legs on the 23rd of September. That's the king planet, Jupiter. After spending the preceding 9 months within the belly of Virgo, that means today the planet Jupiter is seen between the 4 stars that make up the belly of Virgo. Well, what does this mean? Well, the sign seems to be able to be independently verified and can be repeated by anyone using open source software. The real question is, what does it mean, if anything? Genesis tells us that God made the stars to be used as signs, so there is certainly precedent. Will anything happen on that day? Personally, I suspect not. I've grown suspicious of day-perfect predictions into the future. If there is anything to the sign, then I would say it is a marker of the end times, as was the rebirth of Israel in 1948. As a picture story, Revelation 12 describes the woman, Israel, crowned with 12 stars. The 12 tribes of Israel giving birth to the child, Jesus Christ, in labour pains because of its occupation by the Romans and the fact that King Herod killed all young children to try and kill Jesus. Let's continue with the picture story in Revelation 12. And another sign appeared in heavens. Behold, a great fiery red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew 1/3 of the stars of heaven and threw them to the ground. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she was a place prepared by God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Dragon is none other than a representation of Satan. And his 10 horns and 7 heads, none other than world powers and nations that have unwittingly followed Satan's agenda to try and destroy God's plan on earth by killing the chosen ones, the Jews and Christians. I believe these 7 heads include Egypt, who tried to kill all the Israelites, Persia, who tried to kill all the Israelites in the time of Esther, Assyria, who wiped out the northern 10 tribes of Israel, Babylon, who took Judah captive, Greece, who through Antioch desecrated the Jewish temple, Rome, who killed Jesus and persecuted both Jews and Christians, and I believe the Islamic Caliphate, whose fundamental arm hates and kills Jews and Christians over many centuries. The dragon, through the Roman Empire, stood ready to devour the child as it was born. King Herod killed children to get at Jesus. After his ministry, however, the child was caught up to God. Jesus rose from the dead despite being killed by Satan's unwitting minions in the Roman Empire. Over the last 2,000 years, the Jews have been hunted, killed, shunned by almost every nation on earth. Even Western countries, for example America, refused to accept Jewish refugees who tried to escape Hitler's Germany. It is well known that European countries over many centuries have treated Jews as second-class citizens. Islam continues to cleanse the Middle East of all Jews and Christians. I believe the wilderness that Israel fled to were pockets of refuge all over the world that God had prepared. I also believe the 1,260 days mentioned are representative of the approximate time that the Islamic Caliphate ruled over the Jewish Mount, which was about 1,290 years. The time period 1,260 years can be massaged from this number, but significant assumptions, which I will not make at this stage, have to be taken. Suffice to say, I don't believe it is necessary a 1,260-day period in the future, but a past event which represents the Jewish diaspora, which is now over. So the sign in the sky is of interest, but what is so much more amazing is this ancient prophetic picture which mirrors reality as it has unfolded over the last 2,000 years. That is what is truly wonderful.